Oh, these write-ups are so annoying. They're a little off base, but then in parts, okay. Let me see. There was a write-up on Russell again. I'm a female comedian. Russell Brand's allegations are the only start, and it says women in comedy work hard to keep themselves and each other safe from problematic male colleagues. Comedian Vix Lighton? Okay, will the allegations against Russell ignite the change the industry needs? Um, Basically, it's a worldwide problem. So, as I pointed out, they did an interview in 2013, and I ran across this actually after I did the other thing on it, and I was like, oh, okay, he's a classic socio. So you could take those uh traits throughout that whole write-up in The Guardian, right? And put them next to Johnny Depp. They're the same, right? So that's and then go look at the definition for that personality disorder. So it's the same. And he was seeing a therapist, and I'm sitting here going, we should fire them all. Are they all men? There's that problem in medicine as well. So it's quite complex of what's going on here. So it's pretty obvious that he's a sociopath. And for some reason, when they're going in, they're misdiagnosing them and just kind of they're actually downgrading it. Like they'll go, oh, he's got a little depression and maybe some anxiety. He was abused, so it's PTSD. That's what they're doing. And that's a different thing because PTSD does not make you have compulsive, impulsive urges to do criminal behavior and to harm self and others typically. Like you might have depression or you might have, these anxiety things or some flashbacks or things like that. But it's not the thing that's causing this other thing. But you could have probably have PTSD and that, but this would have to be present. And the number one thing that's always in this is that they are rapists. Because as he's even talking, that was even more on the thing about the where people are like, sexual urges or something like that. And the way he explains it is what it is like I have this impulse to like do, all this crazy crap and not care about the consequences, right? And say it's like your last day on earth or something and fuck it, right? So that's the mentality. That's the high. Like they want to do something that's so extremely dangerous and they're looking for that thrill. So whatever the consequences are, like there's actually a thrill, it's like, oh, the consequences could be pretty bad. That's pretty thrilling. And I'm going to get like this thing off it, right? So they're looking at women like that. Same with Rod Stewart. They pulled up a Rod Stewart story and it reminded me of the argument. Oh my God. I had this friend who, actually was one of the ones I think they were talking about Rodney. Like I think they know him or something like that. But anyway, a lot of these people had, drug issues or had done drugs or whatever the bullshit is. And like she was critiquing somebody else that had a drug issue, even though she did it too. But she's like, at least I don't look like I do drugs. Like trying to present themselves as like a better person than the other person who's having, this total other thing going on. And so basically and it'll make sense here in this other thing. So then I guess Russell went after his daughter, and then all of a sudden Rod's like, oh, wait a minute, this is a different story, only I can do this thing, and so no, they're protecting their own house. Even Rod, okay? So he protects him. He doesn't even protect his daughter really. Like it's kind of like don't go out and talk about her, like that. And but he's totally fine with like, treating women as objects. So then they protect each other, right? You'll see that's what I'm saying. Like none of those guys have a problem with this behavior. And that's actually part of ASPD too, that the promiscuity thing. I didn't get further into that, but yeah, no, because they're doing risky behaviors and just extreme behaviors for these like, thrills, right? Like these things like that. and they're absolutely reckless. And I was reading the Katy Perry thing, and I think she described it as a tornado. And I was like, yeah. So I was like, if you ever feel like you got hit by a tornado, which is like every other guy I met, that's the personality disorder. I was like, they come in and it's like psh, they destroy everything and then they like leave and then they're totally fine there because there's a bunch of narcissists too on top of it. They're not just narcissists though. I think it's dangerous to just call them narcissists because the thing itself is harmful to humanity, like themselves and others. And sometimes they end up dying because they do something so risky. And that's what I was pointing out. I was like, those other guys, you may not have like thought, oh, that's a sociopath because he's not like raping somebody. No, like they'll go do something crazy and go walk off a ledge or something, and not trying to suicide or anything, but like doing something like that, and then it's all risky, and then they die, right? So they're trying to get that thrill thing, and I was like, the therapists are just, are you lazy or you're also one, and you're just not picking up the actual problems? Because for me, I can go through all this all day, and I'm like socio, so a million of them, and they're trying to go, oh, they're hard to find. I go, how's it hard to find when I could sit there and just pull up the Guardian and he's like sitting there telling us all the elements, and those are all the points on that disorder. And he went to a therapist. And it was the same thing with the Columbine guy. He went to a therapist and they go, oh, he's a little depressed. And the dude's like, they call him a psychopath. So they might actually put him as a psychopath, but it's the same trait thing. So it's that disorder. And then you see the combination of how that kind of came about. I don't know. I don't know if like the dad was abusive and the thing, and then he just wasn't present, and then then the mom had to take care of him. Then he's already showing signs already at the 15 thing. Then he's like getting kicked out of school or whatever the bullshit. I mean, it was like the typical story of him. Um, and then yeah, and then he like admits he had all those impulses, so he's being criminal, and so already right away you should know, oh, he's gonna be a rapist, like automatically, because it's one of those things. It's like I don't care about consequences, and I'm a guy, and all this bullshit because he's got that MS bullshit in it. I'm it's just automatic. It's just in it because they don't see anybody as human, and then Eline is such a social. Like one of these days there's gonna be like this mass thing about him. I already know. Like he's like one of the worst out here, and him and all the other rapists like go and defend each other. So it already tells you who he is. He's a rapist. So then and he has no respect for women at all. He likes to spin conspiracy. Oh, they also gave his traits too. He likes chaos. Yeah, that's the tornado. So yeah, his dad must have been an abusive son of a bitch, and he abused women. And yeah, I can go on a thing. I don't even need to know this backstory. I could tell you right now. Like the general something happened there. So anyway, these comedians, so I don't know. It says, it felt inevitable to be honest. Women in comedy were all braced for it. Within minutes, of the Russell Brand allegations being made public, allegations Brand denied, in no certain terms, people swept in to criticize everyone who was aware of the rumors around him and did nothing. Responsibility was placed on us and those who were quietly protecting each other, but were deemed to have not taken enough action to prevent this kind of alleged behavior. And my God, we are so tired. I'm not an ASPD son of a bitch, but I'm gonna risk myself to break through this bullshit that's been going on, and you have to make that choice. And granted, maybe if I'm saying something, I'm not going to try to out other victims, but if I'm aware of something, I'm going to say that I'm aware that this person is problematic and yada, yada, yada. So I'm not going to make excuses for myself for not saying something when I've always said something. That's just kind of the difference of it. It's like when things were going on throughout this thing, I wasn't aware of this being a global fucking crisis because I'm a kid. And I'm thinking it's just me that's having this issue with a person. And then the other stuff that happened, it's like I don't want to go into this thing of telling everybody about all these people. And plus, I didn't even know half the people that did this stuff to me. But at a later point, when I hear this other stuff, it's like, um, I was talking about it with the Andy thing, where it's like they said men can't be raped. So, I know that if it was heard today, I would have just posted it right away. Oh, I heard Andy was like raping a bunch of boys, and we probably should report that, have them investigated. It would be such a different thing than it was then. And that has to do with how you're thinking of it at the time, right? So I'm looking at myself and that thing. So I know that people are trying to make excuses here, but when you heard stuff in 2001 about my stuff, why did that continue? And so I'm telling you how the public reacted. So it wasn't a thing like, oh, we were talking and we're totally on your side and we're against this or something. I mean, there was a group of those people, but the mass majority were just like, we're actually fine with this conduct. I think that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so it says, with that in mind, it's very difficult to go on the record with any information you have received. There is a risk for you sharing it from a legal standpoint. Well, fuck the legal system. They fuck the legal system. They're out being criminals and raping everybody. So, that's fine. Do they want to, if they go legal with it, then it just brings it to light. And then, if it's true and there's more proof to it, then it's bad on them, right? That's kind of how I look at it. I'm like, I'm not going to go risk myself and make up a damn story, unlike some psychotics, but that's a very small few people in the population with mental health issues. That, you know, it's just not going to be that way. I have to risk myself outing cops. Yeah, from a legal standpoint, I mean, you guys are not even up against police officers and the government, so I don't want to hear your fucking shit over there. Particularly where the person in question has power or money. Well, the government certainly can make up any fucking thing on me, and they've done horrific things because I have talked. But if I didn't take those risks, then we would get nowhere in society, right? Like, you have to kind of fight for something. Because I know white women have a thing where it's like hard for them to comprehend fighting for something. As much as like women of color have to fight for something, and a lot of them die for fighting for something. So I'm seeing a lot of that. Like, you're trying to make excuses for not like throwing yourself out there and taking that risk. You don't have that thing in you to really fight. I mean, that's the thing about it. It's like not saying you're doing a reckless behavior. You're doing something that you need to do to push society forward. And if the risk is getting jailed for it, then that may be the risk that you need to take. So don't make excuses because you didn't want to do it. You know what I mean? And if I accidentally do something in it that's, it hurts somebody else, it's not purposeful, but, it probably needed to be done. I have to, because the risk of that, it's greater for me to give that information out than it is for somebody not wanting to talk about something. Because it's really about everybody else that I'm protecting than it is just, oh, this one person just doesn't want you to know something. So then it leaves it where this guy like totally harmed everybody else. So that's my perspective on it. So, but agree or disagree with that. If we didn't do it, I would guarantee you a lot of people wouldn't even be talking today. Because I've been really big on talking about celebrities being a bunch of rapists, pedo rapists. So it says, if somewhere along the way, detail was misconstrued, and also the victims whose story isn't yours to tell. Sure, but I'm still talking about John 5 still touched somebody. Do I need to out the victim? No. I've talked about the story though, and whatever. So, but those people over there want to cover it up. So, and I'm letting you know, bunch of people are covering it up, and they just don't want to talk about it. So they want to let everybody else get harmed from that shit. Because for whatever reason. But it's all women who have spoken that face intense scrutiny. Yeah, because everybody's a rapist, okay? Because everybody's a rapist. I want to make that clear. Okay, so it says you only have to look at Catherine yesterday to see that. We also see many moments as comedy answer to Time's Up, with names often as great psychological cost to the victims, only to see those whose time was allegedly up giggling again months later. Because everybody's a rapist? Okay. So we do what we can in smaller ways through DMs. Conversations in green rooms. Well, that's not helping me none. Are you DMing me? No. I have lost count of how many messages I've received along the lines. Just heads up about X, or how many Lyft shares a promoter has arranged for me involving being in a car with someone I've never met, where I'm checking in with the other comedian to check they're okay. Another narrative asks why the victims didn't simply go to the police. Well, the police are rapists. It's a male supremacist ideology that created them. So it was pretty obvious from the start that it was a male supremacist entity that would be pro-rape. Yeah, they were always pro-rape. So, and like I said, in my case here, I've gone to the cops a million times. We've gone to different agencies over different things, and they're all a bunch of rapists. So if you're okaying that conduct, you're a rapist. It's not a debatable topic. You only need a quick Google search to educate yourself on that in terms of the heavy burden of proof needed to get charges. Oh no, you should actually call it the excuses to like not do shit. That's yeah, my stuff has plenty of evidence. So, and yes, you could pull in the FBI to pull up phone records. Like I said, there's a number of things, and why would a celebrity be calling the celebrity's business guy, his employee, fucking calling a child? So it's not that, because when they have that information, what do they do with it? Nothing, because they think it's fine. So your argumentation is garbage. Okay, so just look at how even these women who win legally end up losing in other ways, as their lives are put on trial. As much, you guys do not have a grasp of what's going on here. That's why I'm a little irritated, because it's almost like you fell into the sociopath lie, and you're actually believing that they think you're a liar. And I keep saying that they do not believe you're a liar. And I just pulled up two idiots fucking arguing how, they're innocent. And so you shouldn't go too far, because, yeah, that shit right there. So that's their sociopath spin. They don't think you're a liar. They don't want to get busted, and they want the right to do it. Just because a socio is saying to you, you're a liar, doesn't mean they actually think you're a liar. It's a self-protection. That's why we're talking about their brain, because I understand it, unfortunately. I'm a psychopath. Yes. So we're breaking down their thinking about, right? And you're going to you're in a gaslight. It's like you're in a major gaslight. And if you want to fight against some shit like that, you're going to have to take a lot of risk. That's really the thing about it. And there's going to be some losses in those risks, but you have to do it. People of color would still be enslaved if they didn't take those risks, and a lot of people died. You're going up against people that have major personality disorders from hell. And there's no cure for that at this moment. And that's very dangerous. And those are the same people that shoot up schools, okay? So they haven't tackled any of those problems, none of them, because it's related to fucking religion. And even when they get rid of the religion, society as a whole and how you think of life, just even getting married and having kids, is all revolving around the Christian church. So when they get rid of the Godhead, it doesn't go away. You're supposed to submit to those guys. So, yeah. And involved in that, included in that, was mass child abuse. I keep explaining this because it's pretty layered. It's not a thing. It's like, oh, someone thinks I'm a liar, they're not believing me. I'm trying. I'm doing my best. It's that I already know it, but I've never had to articulate this to people in this way, because it's just a thing where I'm going through cases and I'm like, oh, there it is, there it is, there it is, and I never really like break down like what it is that I'm picking up. It's just, oh, I know it just automatically. That's the guy. There's one. There's one. But once in a while, there's these new ones, and I'm like, whoa, 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 I missed something there. Brand is more like when I ran across Kevin Spacey. Because I remember see, now I'm going to hindsight some of these guys where I was like, oh, I thought they were kind of weird, It was the same thing because I was following Kevin for that hot minute. And I'm like, dude, that dude's weird. Then I stopped following him, right? Then I had the Russell Brand thing because everybody started following him. And then I don't even know why, because there's nothing that I have any interest in that guy at all. And then he was talking, and then I was like, no, he's weird. And then I just stopped following him. So I never paid attention to him ever since. But both of them had that same thing on me when I first saw it. So it's something that I got to keep in my reference here in my brain, because it was like, oh, weird, something strange, right? But I didn't know what it was at the initial part of that. Sloss has been rightly praised for stepping up, the only male comedian prepared to put their name to Channel 4's Dispatch program, and for addressing the deep-rooted problems both in comedy industry and outside of it. It's a global problem. It's a problem in every fucking country. His clip that implored, and I'm trying to actually tackle the entire globe, because if it's something that's only very specific for just the fucking comedians, then we're not helping anybody, okay? So, yeah. And is he breaking it down like I am? Because I guarantee you he's not. And for some reason, when men do these things, they become the most popular on a topic that is caused by them. And we don't hold women up. I don't think a man should be held up because he's being how he should be. It's like, oh, you're a good boy. So then all of a sudden now he's getting praised for something he should have already been. You know what I mean? That thing? Okay, so his clips that implore men to talk to their friends about their problematic behavior has had more than one viral moment. And while it is viral that men like Daniel speak out, it's a low bar to herald him as some kind of hero for doing it. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. Is he your daddy? It serves more than a depressing indictment of how, despite all the talk about time being up, well, those people were a joke. That was kind of a narcissistic thing to do. And then they pushed off all the victims to agencies or other things that don't even do anything with this. And that was quite lazy and evil, but and then turning people, that there was a lot to that. A lot of people didn't want to believe women. No, it's not even that. Like I said, it's not. If I hear that again, I was like, it's a fucking sociopath saying that shit. And so it kind of burns me to the point where the fact that you're repeating it just enables this socio. When they're accusing people they admire. Because they're all rapists. I think people are having a problem of understanding that they're all fucking rapists. Like, I think the whole concept of it, at least for the women and the victims of this, particularly women, because we were not in on the joke on us, right? So women were not in on the joke that, the promotion of, you guys got to go rape all the women. You were not in on it. You did not get the same teachings that men did. And that should really infuriate you. So you're born into a world where they're telling a bunch of trash fucking men to go and just rape you? That's a sociopath. But why is there all these sociopaths? That's what I was saying. I go, there's this answer to it. And I go, oh, We find it out. Mass global child abuse. Indoctrinated through that shit that is literally in almost every single country on the fucking globe. It's important to tackle that. What you're saying ain't anything. That you're just saying the shit that they say. You're just repeating their sociopath manipulative lies. They know what they do. Are you telling me that the guy doesn't know he's a rapist? They may shelf it and be like, no, yeah, but I have the right to be a rapist. But we don't call it rape over here. But they know what they did. We just pointed out a whole bunch of people right now and why they lied together in a mass group. That's why I really hate the term antisocial. I go, God, they're very social. They're so social that they fucking stick together. And because if one outs each other, then the others are going down. Because that's the thing about MS, because it's all about power and control, right? So if one starts taking his buddy down, they're going to come after him. They're going to go, dude, you fucking did this shit fucking to so and so and so. Who are you going after? Yeah, I mean, it's going to turn into that. And then it would just it just outs them. They just will not do it. So then they all band together like a gang, and that's how gangs are formed anyway, for their brotherhood. And they will fucking lie together in a mass group. And I've seen that more often than some single person lying. It's hard to lie on your own, in a mass group. And then they have people like you who are like, oh, you know, they actually believe that we're lying. How could you believe that we're lying when the country is pro-raping everybody? I mean, that's kind of the fabric of the country. And then to come out here and be like, oh, we're against pedos, and then they're pro-raping kids in their state. Like, that's the laws, right? So you have to look a little bit beyond that, because I was like, if you're saying that, then it's telling me that you don't have a problem with that right there. And you're just fake crusading over some other bullshit. You're trying to cover up that you're for that bullshit. Because that bullshit right there is from Christians. Mainly in other countries from other religions, that it's basically stemmed off the same stuff. Yeah. I mean, we don't have it in front of me right now, but yeah, the Muslim thing too. Yeah, they had a thing on there about male supremacy. Yeah, it was, and it's flat out. It's just straightforward. It's like women are weak and they need to submit to men type of shit, right? So that's male supremacy. Like, you could find it in every religion. We are still living the Christian life right now. Everything about how you're living, the way that you see the structure of society, is Christian. So dropping the God part doesn't mean that you're out of that whole thing right now. As I said, we're all inside a cult. Even Scientologists are basically fundamentally Christians and also male supremacists. So it doesn't make, yeah, if you really want to get down into it. Because it's from the point of view of somebody who's in a society that was raised as a Christian, now coming up with bullshit. And so then it's kind of layered off of that. It's fucking crazy. But yeah. And so then you'll see that same pyramid scheme there with the head male. And we must cover up that we're a bunch of rapists. And we're actually fine with rape. And we hold men up higher than we do women. Like, it's coming from that. And so isn't that in the doctrine? Yes, it is. So that's the portion right there. And so that's why I said, just removing the God part doesn't change any of that. And so if you're a sociopath, they don't care about you as a human, and so you're disregarded. And in fact, somebody had wrote a thing, and I pulled it up on the Instagram through Elliot Roger. It was a guy that was totally off point, but he was trying to make his point by saying this stuff is not even about women, you guys. Women are not even mentioned in any of his stuff, really. And it's about men. If you notice, he's very detailed talking about other men, and women he doesn't really talk about much at all. I think that was to be made with that anyway, was the fact that that's exactly what's going on with their brain. The dismissal, right? Because when you want to dismiss something that you don't find important, your brain, your memory doesn't really think about it, right? So you just kind of shun it out like it's not important information that you need to know or anything. Yes, that's how men actually view women. So when you're talking, they have an automatic shut off where they disregard you completely. And it happens subconsciously because it was brainwashed into them as kids when they were getting forming as a child, if you know anything about child development. So when they were developing, they learned to disregard women. So when you're talking, they just shut off. Like you're just garbage. Like they don't listen to you. It's like a noise in a TV. So you can't do anything. And it's a man talking like that. He's like, it's about us. I was like, yeah, can you show us your ego? And then he's like, I'm a big hip hop guy. I'm like, okay, you're gonna tell us about this. You're gonna tell us about male supremacy. You don't even know it's male supremacy. Though you're a black man, you should know what male supremacy is because you know what white male supremacy is. So what's the degree of difference there with the white part? Just that the male supremacist hates black people, but they all hate everybody. It's just that when you get set in a group of people in a gang and they want to overpower a group of people, then it turns into that bullshit. But in order to get there, you have to have child abuse. You have to be a socio to get there. That's why I was saying, I go, God, there's another component to this because nobody rationally and the healthy-minded person could go on that way, right? So what was in the addition? The mass child abuse, the beating, the all of that came out. It was like it exposed altogether from the Me Too thing. And then the documentaries on the Christian families, right? So it started getting exposed together. So it was not an easy thing to come to necessarily, but we had the answers the whole time, which is just the thing that was irking me because I was like, I already knew about male supremacy. So I don't know why it just didn't correlate. I was like, I guess just because of I needed the child abuse portion and just a lot of other things to it, I guess. I just needed some things to come together with that. It's definitely those things. So, sociopaths saying that they don't believe you doesn't mean they don't believe you. That's one portion. Because it's not about believability, really. They're rapists, right? So what is a rapist going to do? A rapist is going to want to keep doing their crimes, right? So they're going to come together and say those things and enable, they will risk, as we just seen, they just risk letting some guy touch them so they can be rapists. They're fine raping. Like, if they had a problem with any type of rape, then they would have a problem with some guy touching them, right? If you didn't have if you had a problem with rape, you would be pissed off that some guy's touching you all over your nipple. So that's kind of telling you, oh, that's somebody that's totally fine with rape. It is a horrible time to be a woman in comedy at the moment. You should probably re-say that. It's a horrible time for a woman to be on planet Earth at this time. And the depressing part is when the furor over the specific incident has died down, we know that very little will have changed. Because you literally missed everything. Okay, I'm glad there's some people on my channel because I hope that they're more educated than these people. The things that we have to target. And there's going to be no change because that fucking PD is a nightmare from hell. And to try to target that, you need to target it through the therapist, through the medical community. And the medical community has a fucking problem And I've been fighting every one of these communities of the things where it all matters together. The medical board is fine with rape. Lawyers are fine with rape. So we have the state bar covering up for that. DAs are fucking fine with rape. Your law enforcement are all rapists. So you have these multiple things going on. They all have personality disorders, and these therapists are not diagnosing that shit. And if you don't diagnose that shit, then nobody's treated properly, and the public should know if you fucking have it. I was like, because for real. And you should talk about it, and you should get your shit fixed. Don't come taking your shit out on me. Because they love to bully. They are the bullies, you guys. They're the bullies, as you see, because then they start coming after you when you come out here. It's just compounded. That personality disorder is so fucking bad, and it's widespread. That's the problem with it. And they're sitting here, it's pissing me off, dude. They're like, they're really hard to find. Oh, is that me? Oh, I'm also one. Oh, that's probably why it's hard to find, because I just never saw myself as one. You know, even though we're like, you know, what's a little rape? These fucking women are losers, and they're, you know, objects that I fucking abuse all the time. Socio? Me? No. I just light things on fucking fire all the time. I like to fucking stand on cars and fucking, you know, like I'm just saying, like they have all the traits. It's there. Didn't you go to school to study that? Because I'm sure it's in your fucking pamphlet. That all those things together, and then, oh, the drug problem, right? Yeah, so they're doing that too. They're like, cuddle, 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 oh, you just have a drug problem, you know, and I'm saying that not everybody that has a drug problem is a socio, but here's the compounded thing. I have impulses to be reckless with myself. I keep, you know, screwing all these women. So there's no question that they're a bunch of rapists either. And then, just the self behaviors. Oh, and I'm a dropout like a million times by 15. So there's like a number of things, right? Like there's all, and then I'm a massive narcissist. Yeah, so it's like this list of things, right? And so, yeah, it's like, oh, well, that was easy. Sociopath. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of an easy thing to figure out, because that's the old fashioned traits. Versus like me pulling Kevin Spacey. Holy shit. Kevin, he went to school. He's not a dropout. He's a high IQ. You know what I mean? That's not on the classic definition. But he definitely is. Yeah. So no, that's the old classic definition. That's why I'm sitting there going, I don't really understand this. Okay, so it must be that the therapists themselves are a bunch of sociopaths too, and they're looking at that going, I don't see a problem with myself being that, because if I say he is, then I'm going to have to say I am. Kind of like the lie with the dick thing and that other guy. It's like if I say he is, then I'm going to be outing myself as one. So we're just going to treat you as, you know, oh, you got a little depression, dude. You know what I mean? And a little drug problem. That's it. Oh, you poor thing, you were abused. And the abuse portion is a thing that's actually creating that. Not everybody that gets abused is going to turn into a mega socio, okay? But that's a flag to go, let me see that with all these other elements that they're having, right? They're just recklessly overlooking it. That's the truth of it. And they had a big blowout on it from the 99 case, because I was reading it and they're like, we're furious because they said that he only had this. And then they come out and they say he's a psychopath, you know, after the fact, right? And I'm like, yeah, but it should have been easy because he looks like one anyway. But beyond that, it's like, would they just said fuck all the other stuff that he had? Oh, he's a total normal guy, right? So this is what I've been saying about this. They go, we equate men to a sociopath. Like a real man is the actual definition of a sociopath. So for them, when they're looking at that, they're just like, oh, he's a typical guy. You know, the boys will be boys thing. They were okaying being ASPD. And yet they had all these studies and knew all this, knew how it came about. And I'm just sitting here right now going, I just now discovered this and I'm totally fucking like, what? You know what I mean? Like they could have stopped all of this. We wouldn't have all these mass shootings like this. We wouldn't have all the none of this. Okay, you guys, because they knew how it was created and why public is acting this way. The same people that are saying, I don't believe you. No, those are sociopaths, honey. That is just bullshit out of their mouth. They're manipulative. If you know they're bullshit, you're not going to buy into their crap. And that's the gaslight. So don't fall into just because somebody says something, they could say, I'm for women all day, doesn't mean that they are. When they come out, when the police come out and say, rape is the most horrible thing on this planet, it's fake crusading. It is not true to them. They're saying it to manipulate you. And so when you're being manipulated, you need to be really sharp with these son of a bitches because they lie chronically. And so they just say shit to cover their own ass in order to keep in power. That's the thing about MS, right? To keep in power. And so you stay stupid and you'll never tackle the problem. So, yeah, I'm just pulling it out. I was like, no, it's pretty obvious that he's a socio. I pulled out the story where he's bragging about how he is one. So, I mean, basically, he's just giving all the elements for it. So I was like, well, he went to a therapist. So can you explain this therapist? Can we fire them? Do they have a fucking license? Like, what is going on here? So he's not hiding it. It wasn't even that that's why I said, I go, half of them don't even mask, man. They're just like, yeah, you know, I got all this, all this, all this, all this. I go, oh, let's see the checklist. Check, check, check. You know what I mean? And he's talking about it freely. So it's not even a thing where, you know, he's trying to hide that he's this fucking, you know, socio. Not at all. Not at all. We're trying to educate everybody what the fuck that shit is. And it varies from degree to degree what they're going to do. There's some way worse than others. I think this behavior is not a danger to Russell himself as well. It is. So it's self-harm. That's why I go, sometimes it's funny when they harm themselves, dude, because it's all self-harm. The whole thing is self-harm. All the fucking problems in the world is them, and it's self-harm. And they're sitting here in a circle going, we don't know how to stop it. We don't know how this is going on. These people are evil. And then they go and create more of them, right? And then they're all socios. And then they all go injuring themselves. And they're like, I'm so depressed. I can't get over my depression. You know, they start doing this because they're stuck as a child, right? And then they're too stupid to fucking figure it out. Kevin's a fucking 145 IQ. Why can't he figure? He fucking knows his shit. He just played pretending so he don't get fucking busted. That's why I said, I go, Conan's a 160. He's fucking pulling it out. I was like, if he's pulling it out, then he's very aware of what those traits are. And like I said, it could be a self-reflection because he has those problems himself. And that's why he studied up on it. Like for me, though, like I said, I'm studying up on it to understand my perpetrators. You know, what was the difference and how did that happen? It was more like that. And then we ended up here. So now we're like hella fucking knowledgeable on this topic. And then it went somewhere else. Like it's a global like thing. And now we know how to tackle it. I mean, we know how to tackle it. We totally do. We're not stupid. To get fucking people to tackle it, you're asking the socios to go fucking fix themselves. Those guys aren't going to fix themselves. You have to force them because they don't care about rules and laws. If you're off raping people, that's saying fuck the laws. That's what I'm saying. And if you have laws that you made to rape some kids, then they play off that. They're like, well, I can go rape a 14-year-old in this country, and then they go do it. They don't care about you. Because if you cared about other beings, you would look at that law and go, holy shit, I would not do that. Like, why do they have it that low, right? You would think like that. Not thinking, oh, here's some opportunity for me to go fucking, be a tornado in another country and go fuck up all the kids there. Like some of these celebrities have been doing. So your viewpoint, the way you're thinking about this has to be global. and not being little narcissists wanting some attention in the media just so you could say this like little thing about comedy. Because it's not, if it was only about comedy, then great. Then the rest of us wouldn't have got raped up in here, or I still got into comedy there for a little bit, but I'm just saying the rest of the world would be safe from you guys. It's a global problem. It has to be tackled on a global scale. And if it's not, then it just festers and there's more created fucking Socio somewhere else. And the more you can get those numbers down, then everybody overpowers those ill people. That's what you need to do, because the where we're at right now, you're talking about the mass majority is a sociopath. Like, what the fuck? Read about that PD. It's pretty fucked. And so when you're arguing with these people, that's who you're arguing with. Yeah. So no. I rebuke I'm like, I rebuke anybody saying that they don't believe me. That's ridiculous. How could you not believe me? But I said it wasn't even about belief. I keep stressing this. The majority were like, it was fine with them. Because I dissected what they were saying. What they were saying, it wasn't really a belief thing at all. It had to do with the fact that they were okay with raping women. And which would mean they're okay with raping anybody, because if you're okay with rape, you're okay with rape. But their ideology is about us as objects to rape. But like fucking Russell, who was it? Russell Brand put, I'm really into women and football in the same sentence. Football's a fucking game, and it's associated with being extraordinarily masculine. So it's actually part of this topic, as ridiculous as it is. Yeah, and put women like they're just a sport, like an object, a game to go get. And Rod Stewart is talking about women in that way too. So I think it's funny. It's like, oh, my daughter. Oh yeah, you didn't like that when somebody did it to your kid there. Don't fake crusade up here, Ben. All those guys in rock and roll. All of them. They didn't have a problem when they were doing it, okay? And then it's like they start playing this game of like, it was only fine when I did it my way, but when you're doing it your way, that's not really bad. That's not really cool. And then does he like go turn anybody in or, no, of course not. They've all been okay. So don't let him fake crusade up here, and none of them. Nobody's better than the other because they're all garbage. Oh, this is that crap that, like, the DO camp people were like, oh, I heard they was just a womanizer. Oh, here's an example of that shit. But this is how men view women as objects, okay? And then that we should all be okay with this kind of conduct. And the woman that was in the bed with them should be fucking humiliated, too. Okay, so it goes like this. Alice said that Brand then forced her mouth open so he could drool into it. I don't know, some crap. My limbs are trapped underneath. Okay, so I don't need to get into the little sexual part there. Okay, so Alice's relationship with Brand ended when he invited her over. Okay, so he invites her over, only to find another woman in his bed when she arrived. Okay, the mindset here, okay? The mindset. I was so angry. I said to him, why would you do this to me? This is so humiliating. Yeah, these guys were totally doing this crap. Like, I remember when I was younger, like, these guys, like, because they're ASPD. Yeah. Uh-huh. Fuck them. They're pieces of shit. They're not people to sympathize with at this point. Okay? When they were kids, you should have rescued them, but fuck no. Yeah, even at that, like, 14, 15 age, fuck it. No, that isn't a sympathy time. They should have been rescued before that moment. Because he was already being a shit fuck at 15. That much we know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and so us women have all this damage because they're damaged people, right? They have a personality disorder and they're like a fucking tornado, right? So you leave bent out of shape with mental illness, right? They create mental illness. That is a massive problem. And government over here knew that. They knew that because they have all that research. Then when you go to a therapist, oh, it was caused by, somebody abusing you. Well, who's abusing you, right? this dude. You know, so we're looking at it, and I was like, they had all that information, you guys. They knew it the whole time, and they were fine with it. So then, the fucking globe is mentally ill. They're like, why is everybody so depressed out here? Well, for starters, most of them are a bunch of personality disordered son of a bitches. But the other part of it is they're the victims of those people. That was a great example right there. It's some bullshit like this is their brains. Your brain on fucking ASPD. Hey, you want to come over? He's like, I got this other woman here. I'm not even gonna tell her. I do everything against her will. I don't consult with anybody on anything I do. This is pretty crazy. Maybe she'll come. And his mind might even be like this, right? Maybe she'll come and she'll want to join in and we'll have a threesome. Because didn't Ashton Kutcher did this shit with Demi? Because I don't believe that was Demi's idea. That whole shit over there. So yeah, his thinking's like, yeah, you know, bring her over. Look, you know, I'm the hot shit. You know, he doesn't care how you fucking feel. He doesn't care how you feel. He can't care how you feel. The only love that guy feels is for himself. So yeah, they can dredge up the feeling of love, but it's only for themselves. And so they can fake that to you. That's the thing about them. They're psychotic. Like, they don't love you at all. Does that sound like love right there? Does it even show that he even cares about you? Like, even just care about you as a friend? No? And you blame yourself. We tend to blame ourselves, right? Because you don't know you're dealing with a personality disorder, right? It's like a gaslight. It's like, why are you treating me so shitty? You know, it's like, did I do something? Yeah, no, they will literally just make shit up and start harming you one day. Like, you don't even need to do a goddamn thing. You're just existing. And something in their fucking crack-wired brain is like, you know, I'm going to go target this girl. You know, I got to get a thrill out of fucking really pounding down on this little girl. Yeah. Mm-hmm. She's like, then I knew at a point that he didn't care about hurting me physically or emotionally. It shouldn't take you to have to punch someone to wind them to get them off of you. It shouldn't be a physical fight. Yeah, exactly. I mean, but you have the right to punch him, I'm just saying. But yeah, he might actually beat you up or kill you. Like, that's the thing about socios, and you have to kind of gauge it. While you have the right to defend yourself, we all know that they're going to sit there and say that you're the abuser. As you've seen with the depth thing where they flip-flop that bullshit right there. But that's a typical sociopath, because I'm aware and educated about socios. So, yeah, so the public is playing along because they're a bunch of socios, right? You would know that he did that because, okay, your language. You cannot be degrading our gender like that. So the minute you start degrading our gender like that, you have no respect for our gender, and you'll fucking rape him, hit him, whatever. So the minute I hear that shit out of anybody's mouth is a flag. I'm really stressing this. I don't want to hear men saying they're telling their buddies anything. You guys were raised differently, and you're a bunch of shit. So as a woman, anybody that talks about us like that is a fucking socio, and they will have no respect for you, and you're going to run across shit like this. And these are the flags. So women are not up on the flags because they purposely try to indoctrinate all of us to let men just do this to us 24/7. And the police officers do not care. So shut up about the fucking police shit. So the police have been raping everybody. Another cop just got in trouble for throwing fucking that goddamn Apple tag in his fucking ex-girlfriend's car to follow her around everywhere. That's what they've been doing. That's why I said I'm pretty sure they did a GPS on me for no fuck reason, illegally. Yeah, and then the car's taken. I'm like, well, why did somebody steal my car? Was the GPS under it? Like, what's going on here? Okay, so one of the things in Russell's story is that he was sexually abused by a neighbor. So this is kind of important to note because in his formative years, now I wasn't raped in my formative years as far as I know of, other than that little molestation thing from that kid, but I wasn't, to my knowledge. I'm like this, to my knowledge, because God only knows. To my knowledge, I was not raped And so what's happening there, if you refer back to the R. Kelly case, right? So these are the formative years where your sexuality is developing and all your likes and your kinks and your everything and who you like and everything is being developed. So if you're getting raped to shit right in those years, there's a good chance that you're going to end up, that's the way that you're going to be doing it, like for onward. Okay. Because I'm noticing that. Okay, and that's actually something that's technically not in my story. So, it's actually in Kevin Spacey. I don't know if Kevin Spacey got raped. We're assuming he did because the brother did, but the brother somehow started tackling the stuff, right? It doesn't mean that the brother didn't have problems and didn't do anything else, okay? But he identified it and was trying to tackle the abuse portion, right? So Kevin here may have had that happen, and so the only way that he gets off is basically like his thrill, right? Gets off is doing things against somebody's will and just grabbing them, just like somebody did to him as a little kid, right? So in the R. Kelly thing, the same thing. So R. Kelly had the sexual abuses at 8, and then he started basically just doing those similar actions to other kids, right? So here, looks like the same thing happened. So a neighbor was doing stuff to him, and and uh, that's just that's his version of consent, and maybe the way he like um. I don't know exactly how they're thinking in that moment. Like, it could be like, oh, it's bad because I was a kid, but not the way that they were doing it. Right? Like, it could be like, oh, because he did that to me as a kid, it was terrible. But the way he raped me, like had sex, that's normal, right? Like that portion was okay, but not the fact that he did it to me as a kid, like that thing. It could be like that. And then, but you're seeing it. So he was raped. So you should be aware of these kids that were raped very young. And if they're not, dealing with it, confronting all that. So the therapist is a failure, man, cause that's there. And he's doing it to other people and a kid. So he was raped as a kid and he just got another kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's there. And he's the one that's going to call you a liar. And these women are off going, they don't believe us. I'm like, are you kidding? He's a rapist. And he got raped as a kid. So that's the thing. So that's why we're looking at the child portion, because that's where the information is at. Not what he's saying today. The information is in their childhood. And I'm just sitting here going, well, fuck the therapist thing, because if they're going to therapy and this is what happened, we just saw this with that Brian case, the fucking dude that chopped up his woman, and he was declared a sociopath. And then he goes and he chopped up his woman, and he's going to therapy, and that's why I go, it's very difficult. There's no cure for that, because you see the narcissist part of him when he's like on TV and they were showing him and he's smiling. He enjoyed it. It was the biggest thrill of his life. He's so happy. He's so happy he did that. So how do you get a person like that to hate what they do? You know what I mean? Hate who they are. Yeah, and he said he had urges. He's like, I have these urges to just want to say fuck it, you know? So he's like telling you, hey ladies, I'm a major danger, and I may get impulsive on you, and I might just rape you. Like, he's telling you. It's not just about him doing drugs. That's just another high. I mean, that's just another thrill for him. That's just part of that thing. That's why I said, oh my God, the thing about drugs is not a thing to be cuddled at all. But you will get some other like victims of him, right? Like, you could be a victim of him and then get a drug problem, and it's not the same. It's not the same thing. You're not doing it for the reasons he's doing it. But you're doing it to numb down some pain, right? This fool's looking for highs, I mean thrills. He's the go large or go home thing. That's what I'm saying. I go, they have this like thing, and Robert Downey probably fits into that because he's totally fine with covering up this conduct too. So I noticed that. Yeah. That's unfortunate. There's good men that are ruined by this, and they'll forever be ruined. It's quite it's depressing. But they're ruined people. I mean, those are the true ruined goods. I mean, you want to talk? They used to call women ruined, destroyed goods, and all this shit. I was like, no. The truth is, these men are fucking destroyed goods. They're just fucked up, and you can't fix it. And they're the ones causing all those damages. That's why I said, I go, you could get a victim here, and now all of a sudden she has a drug problem and she commits suicide because of him. I'm not going to sit there and baby these son of a bitches like, I was raped and I do drugs now, and I'm going to go out and rape a whole bunch of people and run people over and fucking, go get some kids, and I have this extreme behavior. And he's telling you, I have this extreme behavior, I'm impulsive. I mean, honest to God, that line right there should freak the fuck any woman out. Okay? So, and even guys, because I don't know, he wouldn't be against, like, fucking around with some dudes, like doing some stuff. And these guys are over here because they're all rapists. They're like, it's totally fine that Russell, like, rapes me because we're all rapists here. Yeah, I mean, that's what's happening. That's the actual thing versus like, I don't believe you. No, 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 no. We're not gonna go there. Oh, and I want to point this out too, to the Alice victim. I was like, okay, so she go the minor, because she goes like this. I remember wearing a red wiggle dress and big platform shoes and had my hair blown out and was wearing makeup, but I didn't look like a woman by any means. I was a child that had got dressed up for dinner. I was like, yeah, so the socios have been using that as an excuse to go for children. So they put it on the kid. They'll go, oh, I didn't know her age. They don't. Here's the thing. What they should be saying, more honestly, I didn't care her age because, and also I knew she was a minor, and I'm just trying not to get busted. And so I'm going to lay all the blame on my victim. That's all that is. I got it too. I was sitting there like, yeah, I look like a child. In fact, I just listened to a video of mine just from 7 years ago, and I was like in my early 40s. I think I just turned 4. I don't know. But anyway, I was like, I sound like a fucking little kid on here. I was like, if you guys didn't even know me, like, there's people that probably came here, all these people that are attacking me, they probably do assume that I'm like 20. Because I had a guy here try to kidnap me out in the fucking alley when I first got here, and I was like, oh, he probably thinks I'm like one of the like college students or some like kid, because he's like, do you need help? Will you get in my car? And I'm like, oh fuck no, And I'm like older than that guy. But I think he thought like I was a kid. And the cops did it too. They're like, how old are you? And I'm like totally older than the cops, I'm sure. And so like they have no idea my age. So they'll assume like I'm a kid. But they also feel powerful, mostly Russell, because how tall is he? What, he's 6'1"? Yeah. He's the type of guy that like comes and hits on me. Like there's a crazy psychology to this, because they like the smaller, the better, they feel more powerful. But obviously, like, there's guys, they're just born really tall, and it's just, this thing. But people like him, when you're thinking about it, because there's a psychological thing to it. Because when I ran across that dwarf, I was like, oh, I'm not even bothered. Like at first, like, he's not a threat to me because, like, I could kick him, like this guy. And so, but then, but then he's a major danger, right? So, yeah, no, there's a psychological thing with men with women, because they feel automatically more powerful because they're bigger than you. And I get these like 6 foot tall fucking something guys, and I'm really small, right? So they're like way up here. And I go, yeah, psychologically, I think those are the guys, those particular ones, not all of them, but some of them. where they're like him, and it feeds into his bullshit more. It's a stupid thing, but yeah. And then so these guys that are all small have like fucking inner problems because they think they're not a man because they don't overpower us, right? There's this thing. You have to be aware of them all because they're all fucked up in the head. But yeah, it's a thing about it. Yeah, so they said Brand wanted to confirm that she was 16 and the legal age, which is the legal age of consent in the UK. Yes, I'm trying to fight for y'all in the UK too, okay? That's why I said, I go, this is not just about us here. I go, this topic has to be global. And it matters where because they come here, right? They move here, we go there. They're not different from me because they're in the UK. They're still a kid in the fucking UK and they're getting raped to shit in the fucking UK, and she's realizing it like, I'm a fucking kid. You know? It's a thing like that. I go, but your state, your country wants to rape children and let this guy do this because the laws are made by them. And they go, we told her, I don't give a fuck if you're 12. I need to know where I stand legally. Dude, this is disgusting. Oh my god, this is totally mental. He's like, oh my god. I'm not laughing at the thing here. It's the last tail end. When the comic learned Alice was a virgin, he allegedly responded, oh my god, my baby, and cradled her in his arms like a child and was stroking her hair, saying, you're like my little dolly. What the fuck? I told you they're stuck like little boys, like when they get ASPD, they're stuck as like this little kid. And that's a weird one. I don't know, but I would be no. I was like, I'm not a doll, you fucking freak. Yeah, like that thing. And what would the guy do if I'm like, oh, my little baby boy? Like now, there's some guys that want that, and it would be a guy like him. Yeah, that that thing right there is from child abuse. That thing. Oh my god. I don't even want to know. Katy Perry probably got raped up in that fucking marriage. They didn't really talk about rape and marriage much even back then. Like, they were still kind of, I don't know. I don't know, dude. Oh, here we go. I think he was very skillful in the start of making his identity be, I'm the womanizer. Yeah, womanizer means AKA I'm a mass rapist and I might actually drug you and knock you out. I don't know if he did that, but that's the other guy. The word womanizer should not be a thing because it means that women are objects and they're abusing them in that way, like in that sense, and that they would be a rapist, like they just would because they wouldn't care about your anything about you. So I was like, it's just basically that. It was an old term. I don't know how far it stemmed back. Oh, you know what? That's kind of an interesting one. I don't actually know. It was like the excuse for men being rapists on a tank of women. Wait. I was so mad hearing that. I was like, womanizer is not the word I would use for this. And we call it a rapist, you idiots. I know. So, origin. I'm going to see if there's a thing on it. Here we go. The noun womanizer comes from the verb womanize, which originally meant to make effeminate. By the late 1800s, the meaning shifted to mean to chase women. That's the origin of that. And everything in the 1800s was rape a child. When they use the word woman, okay, so this is another play on the ASPD son of a bitches. Okay, the word woman was used on children. So they would go, you could be 12 and they're like, that woman. So they're talking generally, they're like woman. It's like, that's a child. That's a little girl. So they'll go woman. And so if they were chasing women in the 1800s, it means that they were also chasing children. And it's included in that thing right there. Okay. I'm just saying it was another trickery from men. Yeah. In the wordplay. And you guys all saw the wordplay throughout the 90s and just more in the recent years where they would put woman child bride. I was like, what is that? minor woman. That was the main one. Minor woman. So they would say woman, child. So again, when you're reading through the Bible and they're going women, it means children included, and it's mostly children because they're talking about yeah, they're pedos. So then yeah, so that's how they were doing it. So your brain is kind of mixed up because it's like minor woman. It's like what the fuck, dude? You're like up aging all little girls. It wasn't just women of color. They up age all little girls because it started on all women. So yeah, so they were doing that. And so that's disgusting. Like as I'm going back into the origin of the word, because it's just, oh, we were all chasing the little girls around, you know. It's totally fine. We're a bunch of rapists, groomers, and human traffickers. Yeah, it just kind of went to make effeminate, womanize, to womanize. Oh, I can see where it's like that's like to it like manonize, womanize. I'm now a cross dresser, or I'm now a woman. I'm now dressing in you know whatever to be. Yeah, okay. I guess that's what they mean by the original. Yeah, but it said by the 1800s it shifted to chase women. Had no age of consent. For there was a questionable thing in that 1800s period. It wasn't until like 1880 that they had more specific age of consent. But like I said, if there was any, they weren't good because it was at age 10 and age 7 and fucking, you know, all this shit in the 1800s. So they were just basically rapists, and none of us could vote here. So we were actual slaves to men in these areas, even though they like to present it like, oh, they had freedom. I was like, oh, they didn't get to fucking vote, you assholes. And you were raping all the little girls and indoctrinating them into your fucking MS bullshit. I got people saying this. It's funny. But you should, because that's what it is. Because when you're talking about the origin of slavery, these are white male supremacists, so they're making sure that they have their fucking, you know, their cult going here pretty strong. Yeah, and they're just fucking the origins of words. I would never think to look this up, but I hate the word because it's like we're just gonna water down the guy is a sociopath rapist. That's really that's the 2023 definition. So I was like, uh I'm a sociopath rapist. Womanizer means sociopath rapist. That's the definition. And probably child rapist. So yeah, because that's what she was saying. Yeah. I'm a sex addict. I'm inappropriate, but it's all just a joke. It's funny. It's a smokescreen for a lot more of his dark behavior. Yeah, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I go, we're getting it now because we're seeing through the sociopath manipulation. Okay, so you're seeing through the manipulation, the lies, the gaslights, the bullshit of all men, right? So now you know when they start doing it's just a joke. Yeah, I know when I'm joking I'm being an asshole, right? It's like there's a truth to the joke sometimes, not always. It could be more like I know that's what you're thinking, and I'm going to be an asshole and make a joke towards it. And it's not because I would actually feel that way, but it's like I know when I'm saying those things, I could be being vindictive, or sometimes I'm joking and I kind of mean it. But you know, it'll be a thing like that. But yeah, no, I mean, what would be funny about I'm a sex addict, I'm a womanizer? I mean, fucking, those are bad fucking qualities. You know, like, why are you saying that? Um, yeah, so, yeah. Did he do the I'm a psychopath? It's like, I know a lot of people do that, but no, like for real. The thing right there, and he did admit that that's real. So when he was talking in the earlier story, he was saying he has these problems, right? It's not sex addict. Because if it was just about sex addict, then you just want to have sex all the time with a consenting adult. You're a rapist. So, and you have ASPD. So you're doing things to extremes and you want the thrill of doing something criminal, right? Yeah, it's that, more that. So I'm trying to get it solid for me to explain it better, and then also for people to understand it better so that they don't fall into their bullshit. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, I'm sorry. Like, the woman identified as Phoebe, is it Phoebe? Phoebe? Okay, sorry. Okay, claims she visited the comedian once and he allegedly tried to assault her while she was naked and she was when and she wait while he was naked and she was fully clothed. Right? We got a Harvey type of thing right there. Right? Okay. I saw something come over in his eyes. I swear to God, like black, and his eyes had no more color, and they were black like the devil, like a different person, literally his entire body. Yeah, that dude, he has these eyes all the time. That's what I said. I go, what the fuck is that? You guys just said it. But his pupils are there. I actually zoomed in. The pupils are there and they're all small. So I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that shit is, dude. It's some fucking crazy shit. I go, yeah, that's the thing that they would normally classify as psychopath. But I don't think that's what it is. I don't know what the fuck it is. But you just saw it and I'm like, thank you. Because I go, we're not crazy. I go, it exists. It's one of the things that it's a trait, but I don't know if that is something to do with mania. Because Brittany had it, but Brittany didn't always have it, dude. She had very friendly feature, like no, because otherwise I'd be like, oh my god, Chucky, like from the start, right? So, um, but we know a little bit about her, right? So some of those things, okay? So it could be an addition. It could be an addition in this, or it's just from brain activity because he's going in that mania. Could just be the mania. Like I'm thinking that because I'm like, holy shit, because like even in his resting pictures, like he's not like doing anything crazy in a bedroom. He has that look. Even right here, they put a picture. He has a fucking look, and I'm like, holy shit, no. Yeah, they don't all have it. I wish they did, because then we would just go, look at their eyes, dude, you know? But yeah, they have features. That's one feature. That's one particular feature.